Welcome to the Change of Him podcast. My name is Gerard Ucelli for episode 72. Now we're going to scratch everything on this one because this is where the real change within is going to happen right here, because we have our first official crossover where we're going to have our guest share the footage equally on his platform. And nonetheless, I'm going to have my guest introduce himself on this one.
So thank you for that awesome lead in there, man. My name is Isaiah Roman. I am an up and coming YouTuber, podcaster, uh, down to earth person. I have cerebral palsy and just happy to be here, man.
Absolutely. So one thing that I've noticed about you now, I will be fully transparent. I've only met you once in my life, and you've always left a remarkable impression on me. So something that I've noticed is your humility speaks for itself. And I'm always impressed with how you stay grounded throughout the years, how I've been able to follow what you've been doing throughout it as well. I wanted to ask you, what got you more into the advocacy work for you to connect with people throughout your life?
So basically, like the whole advocacy thing, I basically like when you have a disability, you're kind of advocating for you're kind of being either advocating for yourself or being advocated for. So with me, when I was a little kid, you know, had a little tough time as far as education goes because I grew up with a learning disability. But as I got older and things started to stabilize and I got out of special education, it was time to advocate for yourself because I was always taught not everybody's gonna advocate for you. If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. So that's kind of the where advocacy part of being differently aiming from.
I think it also goes to show that mindset matters in a lot of what we do. And with my platform for Change Within, something that I'm about is no matter where you are in your life, good or bad, change will happen over time. And of course, it's the cycle of a 360 effect where you have no idea where you're going to end up, but you can kind of pinpoint where your expectations lie over time. So, what I wanted to ask you more of was, what was it like to adjust yourself throughout the pandemic and kind of reflect for me a little bit as far as where you feel like it's gotten you today?
Okay, so the pandemic for me, it's obviously it's been tough on all of us, but for me especially, having being differently abled, I don't like to use the word disabled, but we'll get into that a little bit later if you want. So for me, the pandemic was especially tough because I actually had COVID twice. When
So did I.
right, yeah, right in the beginning where right before you knew what it was and before everything shut down, I had COVID symptoms, and then I had caught it in December of last year, which was really, really tough, man. I didn't think I was gonna be sitting here talking to you today. That's how bad it was. But thank God, I turned the corner and I'm here. But the pandemic, man, it's tough for me to kind of sometimes do things on a daily basis. But COVID made it even tougher. Lots of lots of strength loss and muscle loss. But I'm pretty much back to where I want to be as far as strength goes. So just trying to take it one day at a time, man.
Definitely. And just with the sense of how you've adapted yourself in just carrying forth your strength, do you have any workout regimens that you keep yourself focused in on?
Oh man, yeah, absolutely. So I'm in the gym 4 days a week, and then I do I work on my legs at the pool, which is once a week. So like the 4 days a week that I'm at the gym, I'm kind of honing in on a different specific area every day. Like Monday, I might do back and shoulders. Tuesday, I might do lats, and then so on and so forth. And then as for the pool, I have a really amazing coach that kind of helps me in shape with that. So I'm kind of just I'm kind of just working everything out and just trying to stay as healthy as possible throughout all this.
You have a favorite workout song that you keep on as far as getting yourself through the moments?
Oh man, I have an entire list of stuff, and
Nice.
it's so difficult to pick just one. But if I had to, oh man, I'd probably say Metallica's anywhere I roam. Well, yeah, yeah,
Wherever I roam,
yeah.
Metallica.
There you go. Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of interesting because I will literally go through cycles of different genres. And I've actually been listening to a lot of Ian Dior recently. And he has some
Ah,
stuff which is interesting to me. He has a song called Never Enough. I love the way that beat acclimates throughout like the chorus. And there's times where I'll just listen to the instrumental of it and it just gives me like more of an adrenaline rush that way.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely. That's funny that you mentioned instrumentals, because like I have one particular instrumental on my list that I just like, no matter how much I rotate throughout my workout, it just stays there. I don't know if you remember, this is like really old and I'm dating myself here. Do you remember the Batman Forever soundtrack?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so did you hear the Riddler by Method Man?
Wow. Oh man, you got me speechless right now. That's a
Yeah,
throwback. That's amazing.
yeah. That instrumental, oh my god, like it's amazing, and the song itself is amazing, but the instrumental is just even better.
Well, with the whole Wu-Tang clan and just I'm just gonna specify on Method Man alone. I've always felt like he's had such a good beat selection throughout his discography. And I've always
Right.
been impressed with how you're able to just tune back and see how it just kind of captures your soul as far as what he does over time with music.
Yeah, right. To me, that's like the best movie theme ever. Like, you got your James Bond themes and all this, but no, that's like the best movie theme ever.
Definitely. So kind of to bring it on that front, what's been one of your go-to movies that you feel like you can always watch even on a constant repeat?
Whew. Oh my god, you're putting me on the spot here. Go to movies that I can watch that I'll never get tired of watching. Oh my god, so many. Any specific genre or just in general?
So what's the first genre you always like to watch?
I'm a huge horror buff, man. Love
Horror is
horror.
one of those things. Now, I'm not my favorite, but I'm gonna say this much with horror. Horror to me, as far as aesthetics and design, have always been something that tries to like push the envelope more throughout time. The sense of just 3D
Right.
animations, the sense of just as far as like the visualizations with just scare tactics and concepts. I've always respected it. Not my favorite thing to go to, but I will always give an ode to what they do.
Mm-hmm. So for me, as far as horror goes, I'm a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I love Freddy Krueger. He's
Ooh, okay,
probably
nice.
probably one of my favorite horror villains of all time. Second to Michael Myers.
That's awesome. So like, do you think if you had to give me more of a top five, who would you put in that villain category?
Top five horror villains. Okay. Um, Leatherface, Pinhead, Uh, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers.
Oh, you said all five because I think you cut out a little bit. But
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
I did
Okay,
hear a lot of them. So
so
that's great.
yeah, so Leatherface, Leatherface, Chucky, Michael Myers, Pinhead, and Freddy Krueger.
The pretty consistent list right there. Now, here's something that you'll probably be a little shocked on. So I get myself involved in a lot of things, just with like trying to do
Sure.
movies, film them myself. Yeah, I'm working on a cartoon as we speak too. But as far as following a lot of stuff, I'm gonna be fully honest. I don't really get
Right.
that in the loop with what goes on. I just get very I get very intrinsic with what I get myself focused on. And there's times like even with doing the podcast, I don't really have so much focus on what's around me. I just try to hone in on what I could do better every day. But it's interesting because like I'll reflect on it and be like, maybe I should follow up on more stuff.
Right.
What questions do you have for me?
Oh man. Okay, so your questions are okay. So like normally I like to you kind of stole some of my questions, but it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna all right. Okay. So let's talk about your childhood. Take us back, man. What was growing up like for you?
So my childhood, it's interesting because I've carried myself as an extrovert throughout my life, but I was actually a very shy person growing up. And although I had my friend circles, I was very centered into what was like just revolved with me. So I was kind of a loner in some ways. However, where I kind of found more confidence was through hip hop music when I was about 10, 11 years old and I started writing verses. And of course, you inevitably don't have good things in the beginning. And then, of course, as you think you're getting good at things over time, they're not great in reality. But I had an epiphany about 2 years ago. And from my childhood, about maybe like 20 years of just on and off writing at that point, I finally felt like I had talent in what I did.
Damn. Oh, that's great, man. Okay, so keeping on the topic of like childhood. Okay, so if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Always to put yourself out there. Even when it makes you uncomfortable, the more uncomfortable you are in a moment, the better off you're going to be in thriving on what's in front of you.
Hmm, that's amazing. Okay, so you asked me about the pandemic. So let's turn the tables a little bit. So how have you been dealing with the pandemic and what have you been doing to kind of get by?
Sure. So I'll tell you a little bit of my story with the pandemic. So I was in a completely different field in 2020. I was doing fundraising 9 years at that point in different jobs, but I was starting to build momentum in one particular organization. So I had some momentum going. I was doing well with money, and I was about to move in with an ex at the time when I was turning 30. So just imagine you have the parameters of success in quotations around you. Then all of a sudden, October of last year plummets, plummets,
Oh man.
all goes down. Girlfriend broke up with, lost the job a month later, house the following week. So then you think to yourself, with everything going on, and of course, I've had hurdles, I've had downfalls before, but when I made that conscious decision to go into education and to be a special education teacher, this was reflective of what I almost did 4 years ago. And going through with that change has inspired me over time to create this platform.
Oh man, you just kind of touched on my next question. Like, what what inspired you to do the podcast, and why do you where did the change within come from, like the name?
So I've only been to therapy 3 times in my life, and I was very intuitive as far as what it's given me in return. There's some things that I've taken as okay, it's a learning experience to actually talk to somebody on an objective standpoint. What I found to be more interesting, especially as someone who interviews people just in journalism throughout my years, you can find clips of me on YouTube and stuff like that. Even like 10 years ago, I was doing music interviews just for a magazine. But what I found over time in this case was I've always found peer to peer conversations that dig a little deeper on a first impression with someone. I found it to be more therapeutic because I'm opening up my vulnerability onto the same level with someone else. So in that case, we're kind of just going through things together per guest that I have. And every experience has given me a step towards more empathy for someone.
Oh man, that's amazing. And like I said, I'm very honored to be here. When you asked me to do this, I said yes, first opportunity, no problem, because I've seen the work that you've done and the way that you interview people, and it just resonates with me. Your level of your level of empathy for what your guests go through, and the way that your conversational flow is with them. It's just great for me. So thank you once again for allowing me to be on here.
I'm a big believer that there's always a side to every story. So even if I have like disagreements with somebody, and of course I inevitably do. However, over time, you never want to be fully fierce in how you disagree with somebody because there is rationale for an arguing opinion. And in that case, no matter who I talk to, I will always have the strive to find common ground with them. And I take that aspect of my personality very seriously.
That's amazing, dude. Any more questions for me? Because I ran out of questions for you. Like
No,
I'm
I
just
got you. I got you. So, oh, here's something I was thinking of. So we kind of start out our conversations in a similar sense. So I have my own reasoning why I like to ask the childhood question. Why do you like to ask that for your guests?
I mean, yeah, you ask somebody how their childhood is. I mean, it's one of those questions where you're not gonna get the same answer. Like it's a million different. You ask the same question to anybody, you'll get a million different responses. Like some will say it was great, some will say it sucks, some will not even want to talk about it. So and in those cases where I've had guests on my platform in the short time that I've been doing this where people don't want to talk about their childhoods, and I totally respect that. So it just it just is just one of those things where I'm kind of interested in other people, because of course you hear my stories, but I just want to know about other people.
Yeah, and to kind of give it more of the relatability for why I ask it, just think as far as how you have things in going on in your life today. Something that I've always thought about as the hurdles that go on, especially just entering my 30s myself, and just having a understanding morally as far as where I am on certain things. What was the journey like to get there? And I ask myself that question a lot. And sometimes in my case, the answer is different. So I'll always
Hmm.
have like a different sense of like what, not so much what the story is, but how it could have been. And then not to say that I regret things over time, but then also when people talk about their childhoods, they kind of like, they kind of psychoanalyze how they looked at things for where they are today. And you can tell how things shape and mold people when they talk to you about their past.
Hmm. So kind of touching on that, like my perspective on things, I mean, it's been mostly positive. There are some days where it does get tough because having cerebral palsy comes with a like laundry list of challenges on all in its own, and then on top of that, for me personally, I don't know if you've heard this story, but I'm gonna say it right here. You know, in the fourth grade, when I just got out of special education, because from kindergarten to third grade I was in special education, and then in fourth grade I was put into an inclusion class. So one of my teachers that I had, she taught cursive writing, and it was like, I remember her telling my mom during an IEP meeting. Do you know what that is, or do you need me to explain?
Oh, yes, I know what that is.
Okay, so I remember her telling my mom during an IEP meeting, which basically, if for those of you who don't know, is a meeting where your teacher sits down with your parents, and they kind of outline the goals for that they want your child to hit during the year. So I remember her telling my mom during one of those meetings that indirectly he's not gonna make it to high school, like, because like I said, I had a learning disability. So my like, normally, like, you're not supposed to hear that stuff, but like, as a kid, when you do hear it, it's kind of like damn. And then obviously I proved them wrong, because I have a bachelor's in criminal justice, a minor in theater arts, and a master's in theater arts. So I proved them wrong, but as a kid, that kind of sticks with you. It really
Yes,
does.
and just in the moral compass of finding the direction that you've had over time, when you do get exposed to that type of critique, especially from a moral standpoint of someone trying to educate you for a brighter future, to be told that as a sense of misfortune for you, it's unbelievable that at such a young age you were told that, because you have superseded over time. You have shown intra and interpersonal communication skills with people, knowing that you're able to hold your own no matter what the conversation is.
Yeah. So that was a really difficult time for me, and I've had other stuff go on in my life where it's always my mindset is always just, for everybody that tells me no, I never get down on that. Like, my thing is, I'm just gonna prove you wrong.
Something I've always had a big philosophy with no is, I always say you can put the no in now, but you can't put the no in never.
Yeah, that's a really big thing.
Because
That's
like we tell ourselves these things kind of like as sayings or whatever, and then also when you're faced with the rejection, your contradictions speak for itself. And I'm just speaking for myself in this case. Like
right.
I'm expressively frustrated if I get rejected for whatever the case may be, but I try to always bring myself back and tell myself that, look, just phonetically speaking, just on the language itself, it's what it is. You have to always put yourself back into that mind state of humility, knowing that no, you could put the no in now, but you can't put it in never.
That's a great way to look at it. So anything else that you want to touch on, man? I'm here,
Oh, so
whatever
here's a
you.
good segue to conclude, and you could ask this for me as well. Something that I like to
Sure.
ask all my guests is, what's the biggest change you want to see for yourself?
Oh man, the biggest change I want to see for myself is just trying to for right now, just trying to grow the platform, and bring more eyes to the platform, because I kind of feel like the reason why I started doing the reason why I started my channel and decided to kind of rebrand it is because a lot of people with different abilities don't get don't get a proper spotlight. It's always, if I feel sometimes if we're spotlighted, it's always kind of in a negative light. Not always, but sometimes you'll hear, oh, somebody with MS or somebody with cerebral palsy, passed on and like kind of lived a sad life and all that stuff. So I just want to, give the opportunity to for people with disabilities that don't necessarily get to touch on certain topics of, like, that go on in the disabled community. Just want to give them a platform to kind of say, for me, hey, it's okay to talk about this, because it's okay to talk about, the struggles that we have on a daily basis. It's okay to be okay with not being disabled, and not get so taboo about it. That's just me. And as for my Classic Conversation series, like I said, you hear my stories, but there are so many other amazing people out there with stories of their own, and I wanted to give them a chance to kind of uh, share their stories and put the spotlight on them.
Yes, and I could tell you are genuine about the sentiments you bring, because I can only see it going up from here as far as where your future holds. And just in the sense of where I want to see change in not even just the platform, but for my life, is just knowing that as an art teacher and actually going from 6 months ago, subbing randomly at different schools, to actually getting a position for the year and only having 8 months experience as an educator, goes to show that I take this seriously. And whether you think I'm good or not, the validation that I'm seeking is that when I get appointed as a teacher by next year, I want to be in a platform that encourages change from the system going in and out. And that could go from like community building, whether it's just doing like art partnerships with schools throughout time. I hope I could be in an art position. That's really a striving point for me. I found like an epiphany in doing art for elementary school students. I've truly enjoyed it, especially in the last 2.5 months that I've been doing it for. And then also for just things with the podcast, I could honestly, if I have a system of making monetary income off this in the next 6 months to a year, I could see myself doing conferences. I really can see that being big picture as far as going into Brooklyn, the city, or whatnot. I really can see a big picture as far as just having all my guests acclimated with their communities to bring it all together.
Right. Awesome. So one thing I just wanted to conclude this with, because I noticed that a lot of people, like, I'm not trying to blow smoke up my ass or anything, but a lot of people label me as inspirational, which I don't see myself as. Like, I'm just a regular dude, living his life or whatever. We've all gone
That's
through
how I
things.
describe you too.
Yeah, we've all gone through things, and my circumstances don't define me, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I feel like when a lot of people label me inspirational, it's because you're looking at like the chair rather than the actual circumstance, which is a thing where I don't want you to do that. Like, are you calling me inspirational because of what I've been through, and what I've been through, or are you just looking at the chair and look and saying to yourself, man, I can't do what he's doing, I don't know how he does it? Like, that's just me. But my thing is, if I can help a person with going through a similar situation with my story, then that's the legacy that I want to leave. My job is done, but I don't look to inspire.
Well, something that, to the point of just connecting us together even more, is when we talk to different people, because we have very engaged one-on-one conversations with respected guests on both platforms. I think our biggest sense of kinetic energy that we bring to those guests is that, hey, there's times I know you, there's times I don't. Let's talk and see if we can get to know each other more. And I think that simplicity defines the messaging behind what we do as separate platforms.
Right. That's exactly it. Like I feel like I have a lot of friends that I met and interacted with, but I don't really know on a personal level. So it's cool to kind of do things like this to kind of get to know them on a personal level.
Absolutely. So I'll just say this just to close us off for the Change Within and Classic Chronicles. I want to really thank you for doing this with me, because this is the first time ever on Change Within where I wasn't looking at questions to facilitate the interview. So as episode 72, I must say this was a very nice way to go about it and finding a new change within and how I talk to guests. So Isaiah, thank you so much for joining me today, and have a great rest of your night.
The pleasure is all mine, man. Thank you so much. Hope to see you down the road, man.
You got it. I'll definitely see you around.